Speaking of moments, you've been, as you mentioned, your career with the Fever. First six, though, were tough, obviously. They weren't as easy. You guys have made the playoffs the last two. What's been the big turnaround? How have you viewed the way the team has grown organically?
Kelsey Mitchell has finally broken her silence. And after months of routine interviews, polished press lines, and endless media speculation, the veteran leader of the Indiana Fever delivered the raw truth fans had been waiting for. She didn't just respond to a question. She dropped a powerful truth bomb that has the WNBA still buzzing as everyone scrambles to interpret its meaning. Every word she spoke carried weight. Every tone was deliberate. And in that moment, Mitchell reminded the world that leadership isn't about being the loudest voice, but about having conviction. Her words weren't just commentary. They were a defining statement that could reshape how we talk about Caitlin Clark, the Fever, and the WNBA itself.
Then you bring in Caitlin, who changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball. And as a friend and as a player, you grow to appreciate her because, certain doors have opened because she's come to the Fever, and you have to respect that. And I love the teammate and person in her because she's accepted it with so much grace and even welcomed us with open arms to, make this thing happen. So I think it just took a lot of big pieces to make,
The real debate now is whether Mitchell was simply expressing admiration, hinting at the early stages of a professional rivalry, or delivering something far bigger, a brilliantly calculated, brutally honest, and refreshingly real teammate evaluation that set a new standard for authenticity in pro sports. That's the question fans are wrestling with today. But before diving deeper into her words, we need to consider something larger. Has Caitlin Clark not only transformed women's basketball, but also shifted the global perception of the sport itself? Are we witnessing the single most important turning point in modern sports history? Is Caitlin truly the needle? Let us know in the comments below.
You've changed the world in so many ways. You've done it with so much grace. And I'm so happy to take the floor with you, to be a part of this experience. I want to tell you to give yourself some grace, kid. You've done a lot of things that not a lot of people can do. And from me to you, I'm always going to be a fan. I'm always going to be in your corner. I'm always going to be in your backcourt.
That's the magnitude of the question Mitchell's comments have forced onto the table. And it's exactly why the Fever star's voice carries so much weight. Because here's the truth. Mention the Indiana Fever anywhere, anytime, and you already know what's coming next, the Clark question. It's as inevitable as the sunrise. It doesn't matter if a player is talking about defensive schemes, favorite pregame meals, or even the weather outside. The conversation always shifts back to Caitlin. It has become the unavoidable orbit of Indiana basketball, and this time the player at the center of it all wasn't a role player. It was Kelsey Mitchell.
Like, you've been with Indiana through the thick and thin. You've been with them since, like we was talking, like we about to go get our rhythm on Indiana. You've been there, you stuck through until now being in the semifinals. What does that feel like? And for people watching, like girls, boys, if they athletes, not athletes, what does it feel like to sit through something and now see it come into full force?
And that matters more than most people realize, because Mitchell isn't just another name on the roster. She is the franchise's survivor. For years, she was the lone flame flickering in the dark, dragging Indiana through seasons so bleak they were nearly unwatchable. This is the same Mitchell who carried a team that managed just 5 wins in an entire season. The same Mitchell who endured a revolving door of coaches over 5 out of 8 years while opponents treated games against the Fever like a night off, an easy chance to pad stats and rest their stars. She was the one left to shoulder the losses, deliver polite cliches to the press, and pretend there were building blocks after yet another 24-point blowout. That was her reality. She wasn't just playing basketball. She was pushing a boulder uphill every single night.
You guys have made the playoffs the last two. What's been the big turnaround? How have you viewed the way the team has grown organically?
Oh, man, I think a big shout out to the organization taking time to rebuild. I think our draft picks ended up coming big. Lexi Hall was a big draft pick, and then you get Kaylin, and then you get AB. And so you culminate that together with, my experience and having to, go through a couple things before they got there. I think it was just like a match made in heaven, really, because I was, still at a young age to really, vibe and get to know these players for who they were. And then you bring in Kaylin, who changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball. And as a friend and as a player, you grow to appreciate her because, certain doors have opened because because she's come to the Fever, and you have to respect.
So when Mitchell finally opened up about Caitlin Clark, it wasn't just lip service or a hollow "she's great, she helps the team" type of soundbite. Mitchell isn't in the business of rehearsed PR fluff. What she gave was raw, authentic, and sharpened by years of surviving in the league's basement. And in doing so, she validated what everyone can see, but few have dared to say out loud. Caitlin Clark hasn't just changed the Fever, she's transformed the entire basketball ecosystem. Mitchell's exact words hit like a tectonic plate shift. Clark has changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball itself. Let that sink in. That's not a simple compliment. It's a seismic admission from the one player who had every reason to be bitter. The cornerstone of the Fever, the survivor who fought through irrelevance and pain, looked into the camera and essentially said, "Without Caitlin, none of this happens. The sellouts, the primetime games, the international coverage, all of it."
An MVP finalist this year with our own Chiney Ogwumike even saying that you had the best season of any guard this year in the league. What has it been like to get that kind of recognition and get your flowers?
Oh, I appreciate it. I've been to a lot throughout the course of my career with Indiana Fever. It's been like my longest, ever. So it's for me, it's a humbling experience to kind of see myself make waves from where it started to where it is now, and just kind of respect the game, lean on the game as far as creating bonds and friendships. And now you get to see us do that now, a couple years later.
What makes this even more powerful is the complete absence of jealousy. No bitterness in her voice, no passive-aggressive tone, no hint of resentment, just genuine respect. That's what makes Kelsey Mitchell's words so rare and refreshing. She didn't diminish herself in the process either. This wasn't surrender, it was balance. She subtly but firmly reminded everyone that before Caitlin's arrival, she was the one carrying the franchise, grinding through the worst years and laying the foundation so Clark had a platform to stand on when she arrived. That is an undeniable truth. Mitchell is the reason the Fever didn't collapse into total irrelevance during those dark years. While the league ignored Indiana and opponents used them as easy stat-padding nights, Mitchell was powering the franchise's identity. She wasn't just keeping the lights on. She was the generator preventing the entire building from shutting down. And now in 2025, her loyalty is paying off, not just in stats, but in legacy. Mitchell didn't just acknowledge Clark's impact. She elevated it while simultaneously reaffirming her own. That's the genius of her statement. It wasn't about taking sides. It was about reminding everyone that true leadership doesn't fear competition, it welcomes it. That's why fans across the country are still talking about her words. Not because they were flashy or dramatic, but because they were real. And in a league where jealousy, bitterness, and petty rivalries have too often defined the narrative, fueled by veterans like Aya Wilson throwing shade or Cheryl Swoops taking digs, Mitchell flipped the script. She proved that respect and truth-telling can coexist, that you can recognize a generational star like Caitlin Clark while still standing tall in your own legacy. And in doing so, she gave the WNBA the kind of authenticity it desperately needs.
Unbelievable experience. It's a moment that I don't want to, take for granted. I want to cherish it as much as I possibly can. Like I said, I want to use this moment to as a moment to not grow. And so hopefully the mental preparation that I've been through and the things I've been through can kind of help me get through these moments. And then just, loving basketball for what it is and just, loving the game and having fun with it.
Kelsey Mitchell's reflections can't be fully understood without rewinding the Fever's journey. When Lexi Hull first joined, Indiana was still the league's punchline. Wins were rare, losses were routine, and the franchise barely clung to relevance. Mitchell was the one smiling through press conferences, answering questions about building blocks, while the team scraped together just 5 wins in a season, forced to dress up futility as optimism while carrying the weight alone. Then came Aaliyah Boston, the post-powerhouse who offered a glimmer of hope, her arrival like planting a flag in a wasteland, finally giving Indiana something that resembled a foundation. And then, of course, came Caitlin Clark, a supernova who bent not just basketball, but the entire sports media universe to her will, instantly transforming the Fever from a laughingstock into headline news. Through it all, Mitchell didn't sulk, didn't complain, didn't demand a way out. She adapted, embraced the reinforcements, and recognized that this wasn't a threat but the long overdue change she had been waiting for. That's why her endorsement of Clark carries so much weight. because Mitchell has lived both versions of this franchise, and she knows exactly which one sells tickets and shifts culture.
The teammate impersonating her because she's accepted it with so much grace and even welcomed us with open arms to, make this thing happen. So I think it just took a lot of big pieces to make, what it is now.
What has it been like? Because certainly the world has been focused on her. But what has it been like as a teammate? Because sometimes people are stepping to her, but I feel like you guys are stepping right back in those situations.
I think it's just it's competitive nature, man. You know how it goes. It's just competitive nature. I think that we want to fight to, love on our team and be who we are and respect the game at the same time. So I think it's a lot of just competitive nature at the end of the day.
But Mitchell's words went further than professional respect. They carried something deeper, more personal. She didn't just call Clark a teammate. She called her a friend, and that one word matters more than outsiders realize. In professional sports, where egos and rivalries often poison chemistry, friend is not a casual label. It's a signal that Clark's integration into this roster has been seamless, even healing. According to Mitchell, Clark didn't just arrive to be the star. She came to create an environment where everyone could thrive in her orbit. That distinction is critical because we've seen super teams in other leagues implode under the weight of egos and hype. Clark has avoided that trap entirely. She doesn't demand to be the only spotlight. Instead, she acts like the sun, radiating light so others can shine brighter. Mitchell's career is living proof of it. Her profile has exploded since Clark's arrival. She's playing her most efficient basketball, delivering in key playoff moments, and finally earning the recognition she always deserved but rarely received. Without Clark, Mitchell might have remained the WNBA's best-kept secret. With her, the nation is paying attention, and Mitchell doesn't just accept that dynamic. She respects it.
I saw Caitlin posted she was fined $200 by the league for stepping on the court. So was there like a locker room pool for her there, or did she take care of that herself?
Man. I'm pretty sure somebody took care of it for her. I love it because as much people don't know this about Caitlin, but she has an unbelievable funny sense of humor. And so I think the tweet was the tweet, but you just have to know CC to know that it's just nothing but love coming from that kid, and her energy and her effort to just kind of support our team is just her way.
One story Mitchell shared captures this bond perfectly. Caitlin Clark's fine tweet. After joking on social media about being fined, Clark's lighthearted jab sent pundits into overdrive, with critics twisting it into arrogance, classlessness, or immaturity. But inside the Fever locker room, it was comedy gold. Players laughed, they loved it, and Mitchell explained that it revealed a side of Clark the public rarely sees. Her humor, hidden beneath all the pressure and headlines. That moment drew a sharp line between perception and reality. Outsiders saw controversy, teammates saw character. Mitchell's takeaway was simple. Relax, it's just Caitlin being Caitlin, and that's the telltale sign of a healthy locker room. If Clark were resented, that tweet would have sparked drama. But instead it became proof of the team's chemistry thriving under her presence. Which leads to the most intimidating revelation for the rest of the league, the Fever's emerging Fab Four: Mitchell, Clark, Boston, and Hull. Together, they're not just a playoff team, they're the blueprint for a dynasty. Mitchell even hinted she'd take a pay cut to keep this core intact. And in today's sports landscape, where chasing the biggest contract is the unspoken rule, that kind of declaration is almost revolutionary. It shows she sees the bigger picture. Indiana has something historic in the making, and she's willing to sacrifice to keep it alive. Why such loyalty? Because Mitchell knows the truth. The Fever are no longer the league's doormat. They're the storm sweeping through it. With Clark's stardom, Boston's dominance in the post, Hull's grit, and Mitchell's lethal scoring, Indiana's foundation is built on both talent and chemistry. What they're constructing isn't just about this year's playoff run. It's about creating a culture, rewriting the WNBA hierarchy, and shifting the Fever from punchline to powerhouse.
You guys have been plagued with injuries, including to Caitlin.
Yeah.
But you have the best sideline in the league, I feel like, right now. What does it mean to get that support during the postseason from the crew?
Oh man, it's unbelievable. And I think the best part about it is that we have vet experience when it comes to Sydney Carlson, and she's a winner and she's a champion. And then you have people like Caitlin, who's a PG and can pass the ball. And so when I come on the sideline, I get feedback from some of the best players in the league. And so I don't take those moments for granted either, because I feel like it's a chance to see the game in a different route, and I get to, get to talk to them from a level of just them having confidence in me to make plays. So I love it. It's a good experience.
And yes, cynics might scoff at the idea that friendship could fuel a championship team, but the results speak for themselves. Mitchell believes in it, Clark fuels it, Boston anchors it, and Hull embodies it. Together, they've taken a franchise once defined by futility and turned it into must-see TV. The Fever aren't begging for respect anymore. They're demanding it and earning it every night. Mitchell's comments weren't casual praise. They were a manifesto, a declaration that Caitlin Clark has fundamentally altered the trajectory of women's basketball, and that Kelsey Mitchell is all in on being part of that revolution. There was no jealousy, no bitterness over the shift in attention. Only gratitude, motivation, and an unwavering sense of partnership. That's rare in sports, and it's exactly why Indiana feels different right now. The broader WNBA should be terrified, because while Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and veterans like Aya Wilson and Cheryl Swoops spend their time downplaying Clark's impact or stirring resentment, Indiana is building something real, sustainable, and generational. Mitchell has declared her allegiance, not to the league's old guard, but to the future embodied by Caitlin Clark and a Fever squad ready to dominate. The bottom line is this: Kelsey Mitchell didn't just endorse Clark, she embraced her, validated her, and vowed to build alongside her. That's not just respect, it's alliance. And in doing so, she's thrown down a gauntlet for the rest of the league. Either acknowledge what's happening in Indiana or get left behind as the Fever rewrite history. Because if Mitchell, Clark, Boston, and Hull stay united, the WNBA won't just have a contender to worry about. It will have a dynasty in the making and a warning shot fired straight at its old power structure. What do you think of Mitchell and Clark's friendship? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Click the one on your screen now, and we'll see you next time.